Ladies and gentlemen, after America, Turkey, and Germany, we will now be focusing on the Arabic regions. The boom of the Muslim travel market will continue, and this billion-dollar market is being shaped by people with a digital affinity, right? So what do they expect and how should you approach them? You will hear about that from insiders who have studied the market in depth. The panel is being led by Fazal Bahardeen, CEO of Crescent Rating and HalalTrip. Welcome on stage. Hi there.
Hi.
All right, before we start with your presentation, we're going to have a live voting question. So ladies and gentlemen, take out the little white voting device that's attached to your seat. It has numbers on it. And can I have the question, please? Okay, I'm asking you now. What is your opinion on the market segment halal tourism? If your opinion is it should be paid more attention to, then press 1, but only when I say so after I read all the answers. So that would be the 1. 2 would be it is only relevant for a few tourism providers. And the third option is I need more information to form an opinion. All right, please vote now. You have 10 seconds. All right, let's see.
Let's see.
Yeah. Okay. It should be paid more attention to. Yeah, that's good, isn't it? I mean,
absolutely.
That's good. And it will in this panel and in your presentation. Have a good time.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you. And welcome to all of you. If I can get my slides out there. There we are. Okay. Thanks a lot. We have 45 minutes, and what we are going to do. How do I change the slides? Sorry about that. Yep. So that's 4 of us here today to try and demystify halal tourism to all of you. We'll start off with, so we have Raudha, who will come on stage a little while later, who is the marketing manager of HalalTrip. And we have Carel from Cape Town Tourism. We'll talk about Cape Town Tourism a lot during our discussions. And we have Shaji from Shaza Hotels. So what we're going to do is first have a presentation from Raudha on the market, some numbers to get you all excited about the market. As you say, all of you think that you should pay more attention to. There'll be more information there. And then I'll have a discussion with these 2 gentlemen on what they're doing on attracting the Muslim market. I think I'll also ask at the same time to Carel and Shaji to come and take a seat here so that we can continue as soon as Raudha finishes her presentation. So over to Raudha on the Muslim travel market to get started.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Hi, I'm Raudha. I'm from HalalTrip. So today I'll be sharing a bit about the Muslim travel market with you. So, Muslim travel market. Also sometimes referred to as Islamic travel, halal travel. But these 3 terms, what they have in common, it has garnered a bit of negativity of recent years. Mostly because the problem is it's been hijacked by 2 different groups. On one hand, you have this. And on the other hand, you have this. What it does is actually blurring the fact that it's a 1.6 billion Muslim consumer market, which has spanned across the food sector, which is worth $1 trillion today, fashion with big name brands like Nike, H&M, which is worth about $250 billion today as well, and travel, which is the next big segment within the Muslim consumer market. So, in the year 2000, there were 20 million international Muslim visitor arrivals, and it has increased 5 times in 2016 to 121 million visitors. And we projected in 2020 to reach 158 million visitors with a total expenditure of $220 billion. And by 2026, it is predicted to reach $300 billion. So it is a significant size, and it just cannot be ignored. With 121 million visitor arrivals in 2016, 57% are to Asia, with 30% to Europe. So Europe is very close behind. Asia is the biggest beneficiary of this segment, with 20% of visitor arrivals to Asia being Muslims, and 5% to Europe. So the global average is about 10 to 11%, which means that Europe has a lot of room for potential and growth for this segment specifically. So let's look at the type of visitor profiles, or Muslim visitor profiles. So you have families. Traditionally, Muslim travelers, when they travel with families as a group. They want to experience, the traditional holiday sort of experiences, going sightseeing, shopping, going to all the attractions. But we notice an upward trend of Muslim millennials who are traveling multiple times a year for longer periods of times and to more exotic locations. So we did a study on this, and we we have categorized the behavior or understood the behavior into the 3 A's, as we call it, which is authenticity, affordability, and accessibility. Despite the difference in the profiles, the underlying core, which is similar across the demographics, is their uncompromising faith-based needs. So that is either whether they're family travelers or millennial travelers, they still want to abide by the key needs. That is, finding halal food, finding prayer places. And we strongly believe that Muslim millennial travelers will significantly reshape the Muslim travel industry. So why are they so important? They are the youngest population of all the major religious groups. 60% of Muslims are under the age of 30. Based on the numbers that we mentioned earlier, 36% are millennials. 33% of them are Gen Z. This adds up to about 80 million Muslim visitor arrivals out of the 121 million that we shared earlier. So at HalalTrip, we also produce a lot of content, information, useful tools through our app and website for Muslim travelers. And 80% of our traffic to these websites are Muslim millennials who are, using it for information seeking, information sharing. So I mentioned earlier that we projected Muslim travelers to spend $300 billion by 2026. We also predict that Muslim millennial travelers will spend 1/3 of that by 2025, which is also a very significant amount. So, and that is exactly why the 3 A's are very important in understanding the Muslim millennial traveler behavior. So I don't have much time to go in depth into the specific, specific areas within each category, but if you would like, we can download the report that we worked with MasterCard and Murdoch University, and we just recently launched it in October at ITB Asia, actually. So you can download the report on halaltrip.com. It's available for download free. And so are our Global Muslim Travel Index reports, which we have been released annually for the past 3 years. So this report has become the benchmark for destinations to understand how Muslim-friendly they are. It's the report where we evaluate 130 destinations according to a set number of criteria. And we will also be traveling. Halal in Travel will be in these 5 cities, 6 including Berlin. So if you're in any of these cities, do register on the website, subscribe to our newsletter to find out more. We hope to see you there. We'll also have a booth here in ITB Berlin. It's at Hall 2.2, booth 106. We are right beside Qatar. And now I'll hand it over to Fazal, who will be discussing with, Carel from Cape Town and Shaji from Shaza about, what hotels and destinations are doing in terms of adopting strategies and recommendations to really cater to this market.
Thank you very much, Raudha. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the presentation. So, we'll try and keep it, informal and please, I don't know whether you can ask questions. I think there are microphones there as well. Before we get started, I just want a quick introduction from Carel and Shaji on exactly what you do in your roles in the organization. So start with Carel, yes.
I'm Carel Stadler from Cape Town Tourism. I'm Trade and Partnership Manager for Cape Town Tourism.
Shaji.
Shaji Salih. I'm heading the revenues, marketing and sales for Shaza Hotels. It's a joint venture between Kempinski Hotels and a group of investors from Middle East.
Wonderful. So I think let's start with Carel. We heard all the numbers and all that. Cape Town has been extremely bullish about this market for almost 1.5 years now in developing the market segment. So sort of give us a feel of why you sort of looked at this market and how did you go about sort of targeting this market? Yes.
I think the statistics and figures that Raudha shared with you is a good reason. Also, Cape Town has been getting international attention as a popular holiday destination for a very long time now. We are known for our natural beauty, our diverse offering. But I think one thing that is not well known to the rest of the world is 25% of our population is Muslim. So we already have the facilities available to cater to this market. So for us, that is quite a good start. And Cape Town is also known as a welcoming city that embraces diversity and different cultures. So for us, it is just a natural fit to also go after this market segment.
So what exactly have you been doing, since you started looking at this market?
Embarked on a journey to understand how ready Cape Town was to cater to the needs of the Muslim traveler. And what we discovered was a bit confusing. There was a lot of confusion in terms of understanding of halal concepts, as well as terminology. We've developed our own terminology that was not necessarily identified by international Muslim travelers. So we have looked at different campaigns in order to change that, to create awareness and to basically train the local industry on halal terminology and halal concepts.
Thanks. I'll come back to that. Shaji, this is a hotel which is purely targeting this segment. So tell us, how did it come about and where are you now in your journey?
Shaza was purely formed in 2007, targeting this niche market of halal tourism. We found there's a great need of this kind of hotels, and people are not taking initiative to come up with this kind of investments because there's a bit of lack of clarity about this halal as a word. I mean, it's a huge spectrum, and where you want to pitch your product into. That was a big concern at that time when we were starting the company. The word halal has been interpreted in different ways in different places by different people among Muslims. So there's 1.7 billion Muslims interpret halal in different ways. So we decided, when we look at the pure statistics from just what Raudha explained, it's a huge, let's say in a marketing jargon, it's a blue ocean lies there, a huge blue ocean lies there. And in this world, where you want to pitch a product, and we found out that more than the typical conservative Muslim, the large number lies in the silent travelers in our hotels, where the silent travelers who are Muslims, but they don't have a chance to choose a product or a hotel based on their needs. And it's not a huge difference you can make. You need to invest, or you need to invest a lot of money for that, small little requirements. Just basics, if you give them, you can attract a large chunk of those Muslim travelers. And that's how Shaza formed in 2007. And right now, in our 7th year, we opened our second brand because we saw there's a huge demand in the millennial travelers, the well-traveled young travelers from Asia, from Europe, from Middle Eastern. Talking about the Middle East, 3% of the global travelers are from Gulf countries, or GCC we call it. But they contribute around 30% of the global travel spend. Sure. It's a huge market, and Europe takes a huge benefit out of it.
So this second brand is targeting the Muslim millennials.
Muslim millennials, purely.
Wonderful.
And it's a evolving culture. Sorry, want to repeat?
So I think just by the way, I think we have used the word halal, and in many forums I ask people, what is the meaning of halal, and I get about 25 different answers. I can't do that here because you don't have all microphones. So the answers I get is, slaughtering an animal with some blade, looking at the east and cutting something. Halal simply means, in Arabic terms, it means permissible. Permissible from a Muslim's point of view. So when it means halal food, it means permissible food. If it means permissible halal travel, it means permissible travel. So halal, the word itself, means permissible. Although you see in shops, in restaurants, they write halal because it's mainly used for food, because food is the most important thing for all of us. So that's what halal is. So tell us about your millennial brand that you're developing.
Interesting part, as a Muslim millennial traveler, they don't want to compromise on the quality of the life like any other demography or people outside other part of religions or other part of the world. They want all the facilities like the proper gym facilities or the technology, the latest equipments in technology, in room, amenities, facilities, but they don't want to pay for the frills and those decors like a Shaza hotel's traveler. We opened our first hotel in Muscat, and for us, not a surprise, but for the hotel industry, it's a great surprise. The hotel turned a positive P&L from the third month of operation, which is unusual for in hotel industry. I mean, we're doing really good, and now the thing is that Shaza, as a hotel, we want to keep it as a premium, while Misk, as a millennial traveler brand, it gets a lot of traction. And is growing faster than Shaza. So Misk is getting more traction all over the world, especially from Asian side. In Europe, we are getting traction of investment interest. So it's clear that the strategy was right from the beginning.
Wonderful. Any questions? I'm going to ask, I'm not going to wait till the end of the session to ask questions. If you have questions, please prepare the questions. And after Carel, I'll get back to your question. Carel, so what exactly, of course, Crescent Rating has worked with Cape Town for a long time. What are the challenges that you have faced in terms of, I think one of the things that you hear from destinations is that, they need to convince a lot of stakeholders, that this is an important market, you need to target this. So tell us about your challenges of convincing stakeholders.
I think that if you think Cape Town, one of the things I think is wine. So we've got a very strong wine culture. And when you bring halal and wine together, people automatically think that, you definitely can't do that. And I think perceptions that halal is very inflexible, which is not the case. We also understand that the needs of Muslim travelers vary from region to region, and that actually also the perceptions of the local population about what is acceptable to Muslims is also something that we had to overcome. The local bodies won't touch a restaurant that serves alcohol, but we also do understand that if you have a restaurant that's being served by a halal kitchen, it is actually quite acceptable to many Muslim travelers. So I think food was the biggest hurdle for us, and the perceptions around that.
Any questions? Yes. Yes. I'm going to repeat his question, so hold on, because he doesn't have a mic. Or can we get him a mic? Yes. Yes, right here in front here.
I am from Muscat, from Oman, and I know the developer of Misk, Shaza in the wave. I think the location is wonderful location before anything. The approach of Sharia-compliant hotels, I think, should be very professional approach. The good thing with Misk and Shaza, the approach to the hotel design was from the beginning when they founded Shaza a very professional way. But what I hope in the future to see the hotel design to be structured with the family-oriented or structure of the Muslim family.
Okay.
Yesterday we had, or the day before yesterday in the conference, we had a session about how to design the serviced apartments.
Okay.
But they are for different star rating. What I would like really to see in the future, the full hotel design, including prayer rooms, kids playground, swimming pools, is structured based on the family more and more, and not only about non-alcoholic hotel. Just a comment, and I hope to see it in MISC in the future.
Thank you very much. Anybody else has a question? European destination specifically? Yes, please. Right at the back. Sorry, you had to walk right to the back. We can't see you, sir.
Do you have to see me?
Yes, we need to see who is asking the question.
It's Nobunga from Mpumalanga in South Africa. My poor understanding was that halal tourism has got to do with food. And you have rightly said that it's not necessarily about food, but it's about what is acceptable in the Muslim community. Can you elaborate on what is it that is acceptable in the Muslim community? I'm from the tourism sector, so I want to know what is it that we can do to attract that community. And until such time that we know what is it that you mean, then we wouldn't be in a position.
Yeah, I'm going to very briefly say and then ask their comments. So basically, we have identified 6 areas as a Muslim traveler's requirements. One is regarding halal food. One is regarding prayer places, access to prayer places when they travel. One is water facilities in washrooms, ability to cater during the month of fasting, recreational facilities, and non-halal activities. So if you go to Crescent Rating website, you will see all that. So food is one part of the story, but the most important part of the story. I keep telling destinations, you don't want to spend all your marketing dollars, bring a Muslim visitor to your city, and that particular person has to spend 1 hour finding where to eat. Which happens sometimes in Berlin as well. So, you want them to not worry about, finding places. So tell us, what are the Muslim visitors? Maybe, Carel, what are they looking for?
Firstly, I would love to take this conversation further with you because Cape Town has done quite a lot of work, and I believe that you could learn quite a bit from what we've done, and we would gladly share what we've done with you. I think that the most important thing is food, and it centers around food. Cape Town, we're lucky that we already have the prayer facilities. There's a huge number of mosques. There's already hotels that have that facilities available. So the big thing was around food and how you marry food and establishment that sell alcohol. So we've also done a glossary of guidelines that I will share with the gentleman at the back on what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, what is important, and what is less important. We brought out 2 Singapore chefs to train Cape Town chefs on halal gourmet cuisine, which was a very successful campaign with a lot of participation. So it's all about education and to spread the word about what is acceptable. But food is definitely, we find, the one that causes the most problem. And we're addressing that one with a lot of effort.
Hotels, what are they looking for, when they're trying to book a hotel?
I think in hotels we look mainly the 4 elements. One is definitely the food. Second is the halal environment itself. They're not exposed to a bar or a restaurant serving wine, because we are specifically catering to that segment. Privacy and security is the main concern for these travelers because the family want to be in a separate areas or they want family corners, they don't want to be exposed with other. So when we design a restaurant, we try to keep some provisions for that as well. And again, facilities in terms of keeping the faith or practicing the faith. So we have, nowadays you don't need the Mecca sign because everybody has an app. Nobody needs the Quran because it's all in the apps. So, but mainly we give them more facilities in terms of private swimming pool or swimming pool timing separate for ladies and gents. Same thing with the gym. So this kind of where they could practice their faith and culture.
Yes, sir. I think the microphone is behind you.
My name is Mohammed. I'm from ArabVisitor.eu. We are specialized on Arabic tourism from the GCC in Europe. I can confirm that the visitors' number in Europe are increasing a lot, and there is an expectation for 2030 that the GCC market is becoming the second biggest Asian market in Europe. So at the moment, the suppliers, or let's say hotels, tourism boards, they are divided in two. Mainly, some of them are very interested on the Arabic tourist or Muslim tourist, and they do a lot. And as example, we are based in Hamburg, and the city of Hamburg is very active on that. They have a lot of activity in the GCC season. But some of them are like very, let's say, careful with dealing with halal, because they say, if I would do in my hotel halal wording everywhere, I will maybe upset the French tourist or another European tourist who's maybe against halal. So my question is, do you have a good experience with campaigns for hotels, for companies to give the awareness so it's not that complicated, it's just an easy way how to get all together?
Wonderful. Yeah, I think that's a question that comes up very often. And I want Carel to address that from a Cape Town point of view. We are 25% of them are Muslim. Before that, we come from Singapore. Singapore, 20% of arrivals to Singapore are Muslim arrivals. And Singapore is probably one of the most visited places, very, very small place, 600 square kilometers. You will feel halal signs everywhere in Singapore with halal restaurants. That doesn't deter any other tourists coming to Singapore or eating even in those places. So I think it's an education process to educate that this is not about, giving, if you make certain things okay for Muslims, it doesn't mean somebody else doesn't consume that same service or not. Singapore is an ideal example. I think Cape Town is another example,
I think that we're quite fortunate that Cape Town is multicultural, so South Africa, and that we are used to living in harmony with each other. What I've done is I said to people that it's all about education. Come to our workshops, educate yourself, understand what it involves before you make a decision. We don't expect you to immediately cater to the Muslim traveler, but come and get the information, educate yourself, and understand that it's a very small adjustment that you have to do to cater for both your existing clientele as well as the Muslim traveler. It is not as complicated as people think it is. So I think by educating, by telling people what it involves, you allow them to make a very informed decision. So that is what we're doing. You're doing a lot of education, and that's also why we're publishing the halal tourism guidelines and glossary.
Shaji, what do you say about catering to both markets? Of course, you're mainly catering to in your hotel, but you have a MBA in halal tourism, so.
Yeah, during my research, it was interesting that, if you take a city like London, to my surprise, when I was doing my research, there are a couple of hotels which run on the highest average rate, which are dry, which doesn't serve alcohol in the city of London. And they're not just catering to the typical Arab market. They have markets from US and the local market, the UK market itself. So I think it's kind of certain perception is still existing. We have tough time teaching the OTAs and other travel agents to tell that we are halal-friendly hotel, so there is no problem in featuring it in your site. It's saying halal-friendly. But in our view, for example, Dubai as a city, they have a lot of dry hotels catering to the halal specific, because food is definitely halal, is a given factor, but a lot of other things in terms of halal lifestyle. The hotels in Dubai, which has #1 market share from Germany, followed by UK, and the GCC comes as #3. So
Dry hotels.
Yeah, dry hotels are performing very well from other markets. So coming back to Europe, yes, it's still, as Carl said, education is a must, and we are doing that. Also, the tour operators and those destination marketing companies should take a lead in telling that, similar to airlines, they have kosher food in their menu, which is catering to less than 1% of the global population. Why? Because they're pitching into that market as well. So similarly, they should understand the importance of this market, halal tourism, scope of this market, and cater to them.
Any questions? Any other questions? So there are a few. I'll take one from there. The lady there.
Hi, I'm Jan from Thailand. Thailand is we're not doing very well in the halal tourism market. My question is, as a destination, you really want to do a good product inventory, and how difficult is it to get halal certified process? Perhaps you can share some of the experience as a destination to have a good collection of product inventory with halal certification.
So I assume that you are talking about halal certification when it comes to food, is it? Everything. Okay. Carl, you want to?
Okay, I think what is incredibly important, especially for restaurants and hotels, is that you use halal certified suppliers. So that is very important that you get your meat product from a halal certified supplier. And then in the restaurant industry, where we have restaurants serving alcohol, we use the Crescent rating. We love the rating system that they do. It is not certified, but you get a rating based on your kitchen. So if you've got a halal kitchen and you serve alcohol, you have a rating that is totally acceptable by many Muslim travelers.
So I think the answer, So I think there are, I mean, of course, I'm not doing a sales pitch here, but Crescent Rating does a lot of that work in terms of all kinds of services, assuring the halalness or Muslim friendliness of the services, from hotels, restaurants to theme parks, all that. So that's what we do. London, you have a hotel.
Coming up.
Yes.
Opening in a year from now.
How are you going to solve the halal certification?
We will Shaza has a body of consultants working with us, because GCC is a given market. You don't need to have any certifications, but we have a body of consultants. We also partner with Crescent Rating, and we have a lot of other partners who work with us. So definitely there will be a partner on board for that different market, but Shaza Hotel as such embodies the entire halal principle for a consumer point of view. So
there was a question here. Ravi.
So there's a good opportunity to know more about halal. We have the 15 hotels in Dubai. All our 15 hotels are dry hotel. So my question with Shaji, right, your name, to you saying that as a hotelier part, if we are declaring as a halal hotel, what do you think that other religious or other people, they would like to come to stay in your hotel, or just a query?
Understand. Yeah, I think.
As I answered at the beginning, it's very simple. You are giving one more option to a consumer. It's halal-friendly hotels. Means it kind of giving one more advantage to a specific segment to use your hotel. So you shouldn't be shy to say that you're offering.
Not shy, actually. We are in a business anyway.
Exactly. So we are openly saying it, and we found it's a niche market coming to us, along with other markets. And other market doesn't bother, because that's why I said in Dubai hotels, you have Germans and UK and different other markets working with the same dry hotels. I don't think it's a problem for them.
You didn't feel any problems?
Not yet.
So we are a dry hotel. It doesn't mean that any dry hotel is non-alcohol or something. We are purely in a halal. We are not declared, but we are catering as a halal hotel.
Understand. Thanks.
Thank you very much for giving an opportunity to know this.
Thank you very much. So I think when you say certain features that you require for the Muslim market, most of them are family-friendly requirements, and they are very acceptable for any other market which is looking for a family-friendly environment. Any other questions? We probably have about 10 more minutes. Any other questions from out there? Yes, please.
I just wanted to know, in terms of numbers, how many hotels are there out there, just from your stats point of view? How many hotels are there which are family-friendly or halal?
It's a difficult question. My rough back-of-the-envelope guess, globally, we probably have somewhere around 2,000 hotels, maybe, with that kind of, around that kind of, dry hotels plus family-friendly and things like that. Maybe between 1,500 to 2,000, maybe globally, not more than that. Probably less, actually. Carl, sorry, you have a question. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. So we are a halal certificated kitchen in Hotel Budapest, but we are the only one actually in Budapest with a halal certificated kitchen and restaurant. But we also serve wine, so different things as well, in a different restaurant with different kitchen. And my question is, how can we connect directly with the Muslim people to attract them, to let them know that we have this kind of opportunity in Budapest? Do you have any advice?
Unfortunately, I need to do a sales pitch to you. Then you have to connect with HalalTrip.
Right. Thank you.
No, I think there are platforms out there. HalalTrip is one of them. I think at the end of the day, you have to be discoverable online as a Muslim-friendly, service. And a lot of people, tell us, we are halal, we are that, we are this. But if you are not discoverable online, whether through HalalTrip or through Google, somebody searches Budapest, where is halal food, your thing should come up, So you have to be open with what you cannot be, I'm halal, but I'm not going to tell anybody, that I'm halal. It doesn't work. Right? Carl, what are your plans, future plans?
As a destination, we plan on also doing a halal visitor's guide. So it'll be a guide targeting the Muslim traveler that has a list of all facilities that are either Muslim-friendly or halal. So I think that is a very good way for a destination to promote the facilities that can cater to that specific market. We're also going to do far more training. We're planning training campaigns with Fazal and Crescent Rating. And then we're also going to do a very strong accreditation and rating drive to get product to sign up and to actually be featured in our visitor's guide. So that's basically our long-term plans at the moment.
Shaji, what's next for Shaza and Misk, is it?
Misk Hotels, Misk by Shaza. So our plan right now, we have 15 hotels under construction for Shaza and 5 under construction for Misk. By 2020, our plan is to have 25 hotels all over the world, and with further ambitious growth plan. Because we facilitate both to consumer for a default halal environment and for an investor for a halal returns, because he invests in a halal business and he earns halal. So we are giving a value proposition for both the consumer and to a B2B level. So it gets a lot of traction. We partner with most of the government organizations within the GCC. We work with banks, Islamic banks, because it's an opportunity for them to invest in a halal business. So my roadmap says Shaza wants to be 100 Misk hotels in 2030 and 50 Shaza hotels by 2030. So that's our roadmap for 2030.
Ambitious. Good. Questions? We have 7 more minutes. Oh. Carl, tell us about, I think the chef training program. What was how did the industry take take on to it, and what's your plan? Why did you sort of start doing that? Yeah.
Okay, number one, firstly, we bribed them into the campaign by having a wonderful trip for 2 chefs. The winners won a trip to Singapore, which was a good start. We had phenomenal interest from across the board, from catering schools to 5-star hotels to restaurants. We also had a broad variety of participants in terms of cultures, in terms of different races. So it was accepted very well, and people came and they attended. We had about 40 chefs that attended the program, and then they did an online assessment right after the theoretical training, and the top 20 chefs went through to a cooking competition where they had to cook halal dishes, and then they were judged by a panel of judges, and then 2 chefs won a trip to Singapore. As a matter of fact, they're leaving towards the end of the month to go to Singapore, and we are also going to use that as a case study. So that attracted a lot of attention. The participation was so well that we have decided to actually do another one to also, the word is out there now, and as soon as the word is out there, it just gains momentum. So we're definitely going to do more of that.
Thank you. Any questions? Still no questions. Okay, I was surprised good to hear about Budapest. I didn't know that there is a halal restaurant there. So any plans, what are the European destination plans for Shaza and Misk,
London, definitely. Geneva and other part of the Switzerland for sure. We are actively in discussion with a couple of Istanbul properties. Paris we want to enter. Nowadays, the diversified investment portfolio of those Middle Eastern banks helping us to grow to these markets as well. We recently signed a big project in Lombok in Bali. So that'll be the first halal-friendly resort in that Bali area. We are also planning to develop towards those CIS countries like Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, because Shaza stands on a Silk Route culture, celebrating the cultures of the Silk Route. So I think that is our catchment area where we're developing further.
Okay, so last words, we are running out of time. So Carl, so what would you tell the audience? We had this question in the beginning, whether whether we should pay more attention to halal tourism, which was the highest percentage, and the second was 0, the third one, I forget now what it was. But what's the message to the audience about, halal tourism, your message? Now that you have, almost 1.5 years, you have run these programs in Cape Town.
When I started the project, I was very green, and I was part of number 3 that wanted more information. For me, it is basically education is vitally important to get the message out there, to make people understand that it's not as complicated as it sounds, and that it's not the adjustment that you have to do to cater for additional market segment, the Muslim traveler, is not that great. So you have to, it's a very small adjustment that you can do for a great gain in the future.
Shazi, not from a hotel's angle, what's your general message to the audience about halal tourism? What should they do? Should they take it seriously? How seriously?
Definitely, we saw all the figures. The figure speaks. We don't need to speak anything else, just the figure speaks. There's a huge potential out there. It's a time to be there and to be there to say that we are halal friendly if they want to into that market. And when you do it right, with help of right consultants and right people, because trust is also a very important part of a business. So when you do it right, I think you get the stake out of this growing market.
If there are no more questions, then I'll end here, and thank you very much to all of you. Oh, later. We want to still take it? Okay, we'll take it. Okay.
Yannick, I'm from Salzburg in Austria. And my question is, we've talked about there are many points to consider with halal tourism, but in the end we always come back to food. So as a tourism company, is it really important to consider many more points than just the food to attract Muslim travelers?
Food is vastly, it doesn't matter whether Muslim or not, food is number one thing for all of us when we go. So food is important, the most important thing. If you don't have anything else, if you have food, that's a start. But there are other things that you need to still look at it, you know. But, you know, food is like a red line. If you don't have halal food, not many people will come or at least revisit your destination. But that's only a starter. You still have to look at few other things. Prayers are, for many people, are important. You know, you don't want to, especially these days, you don't want to be praying in the street, in public places, you know. You don't know what will happen to you. So you have to have private places for people to perform their prayers. So there are many other aspects to look at it as well. But definitely food is the most important thing. Thank you very much, all of you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I'll take it.